Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Tim, Braden, Second Legacy. Thank you for showing up because that makes you amazing. And oh, do we have something. Oh, Kamala Harris made a darn fool of herself around gun control because someone actually asked a hard question. This one you're going to want to see. You're going to want to send it to all of your friends whom you love and care about because this is gold watching this woman squirm. And of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. Tim, you called me yesterday. We were both in the car. You were giddy. You were downright elated.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was listening to the live broadcast of this interview, and I'm like, dude, you got to hear this.
Yeah.
You got to hear this.
Yeah, Tim's like, are you watching live satellite radio Fox News right now? I'm like, no, I'm driving. He goes, you gotta. Okay, Tim,
funny.
we'll look at it. And turns out, guys, Tim, per usual, was over the target because Kamala got asked some really uncomfy questions around gun control, and she didn't like it.
No, and to the interviewer's credit,
yeah,
they were extremely persistent. They're like, no, what I asked was.
See, what I had said was, no, it was, and she didn't like it either. Guys, everything in here is gold. Please send this out. And again, if you're liking this content, enjoying your time, help the channel grow. We're trying to get to that 100,000. Let's get it. All right, Tim. So I've got the segment pulled up that you requested. Tim gets ultimate credit on this one. And so with that said, Dr. Slides, we're going to do the same thing we usually do. We're just going to roll with it. And me and Tim will tell you to verbally stop when it's time, and then we'll kind of just have fun with it. So with that said, Tim, let's begin.
That microphone again.
Madam Vice President, I'm switching gears again.
Okay.
Quick question. I want to talk to you about gun control. So you've said you support an assault weapons ban and universal background checks, and we actually learned during the debate that you are a gun owner. But in cities like Philadelphia, handguns are responsible for most homicides and violent crime. The most recent FBI data shows handguns were involved in 59% of murders in our country. How will you address the issue of the use of handguns? Because a push for an assault weapons ban only addresses a significant but small part of the problem.
What? No. Handguns?
I know, right? And it's worth pointing out. She said like handguns are responsible for 59% of murders. Well, handguns aren't responsible for anything.
You can't ask for perfect, Tim. I mean, I'm going to give her at least a 94.
I know. That always drives me nuts, though, when they keep blaming inanimate objects. We never hear about the criminals. But keep in mind that 59% isn't 59% of 100%, right? Because there are other means by which people kill each other. It's not just firearms, right?
Yeah, it's only guns, right?
Right. So just keep in mind that when you take a look at everything holistically, this is something we bring up on the channel all the time. Why do they gun grabbers never talk about handguns? They always want to talk about assault weapons that account for, gosh,
300. I think it was 300.
300 is probably way high because there are 500 misuses of rifles of any type, according to the FBI every year.
Right.
So a percentage of that would be of the assault type. So 300 would be a guess in a nation of 330 million people. So when you say handguns are misused in crimes far more often, but the anti-gunners will never talk about it. And this journalist picked up on that, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, God almighty, the clouds part, light comes down.
It very well could be. Yeah, it very well could be. And I do suspect that the interviewer is pro banning even handguns, right?
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, most likely,
she's like,
yeah.
But Madam Vice President, what about this? And we get the nasally response, which is pure gold.
Oh, it's so good. But again, before we let her answer, because this is where the word salad, like there's a chef in the back right now mixing together a big Kamala salad. So it is handguns. And that's the craziest part, because I swear this interviewer was watching our channel where we talk about it all the freaking time, as Tim just mentioned. The handguns, if you're making it about inanimate objects, the handguns are the problem. But because Democrats don't want to turn off the middle, they don't go after handguns. They just go after the scary part over here. Right. But and she actually tries to listen to this correction. Play it again.
But maybe Kamala doesn't want to give up her handgun either. That's
not Kamala.
Right? Yeah.
Oh. All right, let's go.
So, first of all, yes, I am a gun owner, and Tim Walz is a gun owner, and we're not trying to take anybody's guns away from them. But we do need an assault weapons ban. Assault weapons are designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly and have no place, I'm going to get to it.
Yes.
and have no place on the streets of a civil society. We need universal background checks, which, to your point about handguns, is about saying that it is just reasonable to want reasonable gun safety laws that say we should do background checks, that we ought to know. It's just reasonable. You might want to know before someone can buy a lethal weapon if they've been found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others. You might just want to know.
And respectfully, we do understand that.
But you're asking
Yes.
about...
I'm asking specifically about handguns, because many of those handguns aren't purchased in places.
Universal background checks apply to handguns.
Yes.
They do.
But in
And
many instances, those handguns aren't even bought lawfully. Yes.
Okay, stop.
Which
Stop. Oh, she didn't like it, Tim. She didn't like it one bit.
Boy, she was just talking in circles there. I love that. You know, I'm a gun owner. I can't even do her nasally voice. I'm a gun
don't
owner.
try.
And
You
I
only need one of those.
involve and yeah, it's like, and we don't want to take anybody's guns, but I want to take
But
away
we
your
need assault
assault
weapon
weapon. Yeah. It's like, well, that was a great start there.
It's quite the pivot.
Kamala.
Yeah. In the same breath, I don't want to take anybody's guns, but those assault weapon bans need to go. It's just like,
I don't want to take your
like,
freedom of speech, but we should ban the First Amendment and just take it from the Bill of Rights, because that's how we preserve freedom, being unburdened by what has been. Yeah.
Was that a pull to Hillary Clinton?
Yeah.
Last okay, we'll talk about that later.
We'll
talk about that later.
Right.
That is a good one. It's weird how these things consistently just blend together. But, Tim, the thing that I love about watching her body language, she was uncomfortable with the question to begin with, and then she started pivoting to what she wanted to talk about. Yeah. And then the journalist actually pinned her in a corner and was like, yeah, no, we get that. So anyway, about what I asked, and she started getting shitty. Yeah.
Well, that has to be hard for Kamala, because if you go back and you take a look at some of the articles that were written when they first took power, her and Biden, she had like a 97% attrition rate with staff. They were all leaving, and some of them went public with like just, when she was the attorney general of San Francisco, she would walk in the office and she mandated that her employees call her general and stand at attention as she walked in the office. All these articles have circulated. So I can see her getting a little testy when somebody pushes her, especially some peon she's never heard of, right? So
yeah, a little bit.
Shut up, surf. Yeah,
but you love to see it though. It happens like once every 1,000 interactions. It's like the question of 1,000 questions. But when it does happen, we are going to cover it. So let's keep going, because there's even more.
Why I also have been very adamant for years. In fact, I myself protested at a gun show probably 10, 15 years ago about the gun show loophole and why we need to close that. Because what ends up happening is that gun shows at flea markets, gun dealers are not, under existing law in the past, required to register their sales. And so you are exactly right that a lot of homicides, for example, a good number of them, I don't have the statistic in front of my mind, are committed with illegally purchased guns. And that's why we need to address each entry point in the issue, including universal background checks, closing the gun show loophole, and what we need to do as a general matter to focus not only on reaction to crime, but prevention of crime. So you're raising a very important issue that has many facets, including...
Stop it real quick. Okay, dude.
So, wow.
How do you know when a gun control is losing? When they bring up the gun show loophole and they say there's many facets. Are there?
She brings up the gun show loophole, and then her understanding of the gun show loophole
completely
is
wrong.
Gun dealers aren't required to keep record of their transactions. Wrong.
Lie.
A gun dealer at a gun show must do a background check. If they cannot complete the background check, you do not take your gun home. They will make arrangements for you to pick it up later after the background check clears, or they'll give you your money back. Okay?
Because
she doesn't even
obligated.
understand. Right. She doesn't even know or doesn't even understand is what the loophole is. And so the loophole is private sales. Basically, you being able to sell a firearm to your buddy, or you being able to give a firearm at Christmas to a relative or something like that. That's the loophole that she's having a problem with. But she thinks that gun dealers aren't required under some special law that used to be in the past, but is still current, apparently, according to her, where they just don't have to register sales because they're at a gun show. They're at a flea market. It's wrong.
And just so you guys know, this is the part that Tim was like, "She's lying."
Yeah.
when he called me, I was like, "Tim, I know, that's what she does. Actually, call me when she tells the truth. That's what I want to know."
Right. That's just showing
but
up
yeah,
itself if it ever happens.
Exactly. But when you go back to the gun show loophole, the same exact talking point that the director of the ATF said did not exist and never did exist.
Right.
Steve Dettelbach, he did it about a year ago, talking to Thomas Massey in Congress, and he did it about a year and a half ago when he was talking to the victims of some tragedy in the ATF commissioning of a memory wall. Multiple times. We've covered it. But the gun show loophole, Tim. That's how you know they're losing.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different facets to this. Oh,
and it's so beautiful watching this interviewer lead her down the path, trying to get her, forcing her into answering a question, because clearly the interviewer, I truly believe, wants to ban handguns because she sees the handguns as being the true threat, and thinks that, the administration, everybody else is just off on a wild goose chase after these assault weapons. And so she's trying to push this narrative, and Harris doesn't want to go there, man. She's like, I can't say that. I'll lose middle America. I can't do it. So, well, do you think handguns are the problem? This is why we want to talk about universal background checks and gun show loopholes. No, Madam President, what we're trying to ask is, what about handguns? Or do you see that they're a problem? But that's what, to your point, we're talking about background checks and people buying guns illegally, and that's the problem.
That's it.
She will not answer the question.
You just hit it. Even the journalist said, well, most of the guns used in these homicides are purchased illegally from crime. So how are you going to do that? Well, that's why you need universal background check. Okay, flag on the play. The journalist just said it's illegal purchases. And you go back to what legal citizens would have to jump through. You are not talking about anything. And when you get close to this level of detail, beautiful people at Second Legacy, they get real uncomfortable because all of their lies, their talking points, and their emotive reactions, they fall short real hard, real fast. Real fast.
Yep.
Oh, let's see let's let her wrap up. Let's finish this out.
What we need to do in terms of reasonable gun safety laws, and what we need to do around crime prevention, what we need to do around crime deterrence. But listen, I have personally prosecuted homicide cases. I have held the hands of mothers who have come to me crying, who have said, I only want to talk to Kamala, because they knew when they sat down, I would treat them with the dignity and respect that they were entitled and due.
Oh my God.
About the loss of their child, often their son, to gun violence, and the need to take it seriously. And we must take it seriously in every way, understanding it's not just about a soundbite. It's about a comprehensive approach that deals with the tragedy of, to your point, everyday gun violence in America. It's real. It has had a profound impact in terms of trauma that for the most part has gone undiagnosed and untreated. The trauma that exists in communities around the violence of losing their children, losing a brother, losing a father, an uncle. All of that must be addressed, and we have to have a holistic response to it.
Are there things we haven't thought about yet? Because every time we bring up this issue of gun violence, universal background checks comes up, and a ban on assault weapons. Are there other solutions that you're also thinking about that will get at this issue?
Absolutely. For example, part of what we did as vice president and with the president, we were able to pass the first meaningful gun safety legislation in 30 years. And part of what that involved was millions and millions of dollars to put more mental health counselors in public schools, right? Because we know that.
Hold on.
What? That's not.
Oh, the lies.
I know. It's like we passed the most comprehensive gun control package in 30 years, and we put counselors in schools. Huh?
No.
But how's putting a counselor in a school gun control? If your shtick is we're selling gun control over here, but we made a big difference by putting counselors in schools? The same schools you won't put security officers into?
But no. You can't do that. So there was no funding. So let me enlighten the vice president, because clearly she just doesn't know, Tim. Maybe we can help her. Maybe she can watch this video in a self-critique moment and learn something. Not likely. All right. So the Safer Communities Act, the Senate Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, so you know it's good, that allowed for the ATF and the FBI to automatically mandate a 10-day delay on any adult 18, 19, and 20-year-old for any gun purchase as a enhanced background check. They put forward significant amount of slush money funding in order to bribe states to do red flag laws at a state level. So those are two things that she didn't just mention. Just forgot those pieces.
But I think they said they saved exactly 200 lives. With the most
that's what Merrick Garland did in his last little update. It's exactly what he said.
Yeah. Right. Sure. Two things about what she said in that rambling, talking in circles, said a whole lot of nothing clip was, first of all, what is it with her, like, changing her accent? And I have mothers and children come up to me all the time. They say, I want to talk to Kamala.
I didn't hear that.
You started laughing at the moment she did it. It's like,
yeah, I started laughing because she's going back to emotion because she's got nothing of substance.
I didn't hear
her
accent.
I didn't hear a shift.
It's probably more subtle than it's probably more subtle than what I made it out to be. But she definitely changed her accent, and then you laughed and I snickered too because I thought you heard the same thing. But yeah, but then she goes on to talk and nothing. She doesn't address the question yet. Again, for 2 minutes, she talks about how we have to address the trauma and people of this and then background checks, but it's the trauma, and we did the most comprehensive gun control in the history of the world, certainly in the last 30 years, and we put counselors in schools with it. I mean, she said nothing, and what she did say isn't even true.
Exactly. The thing that she did squeak out was a falsehood, but dang it, did she nail that emotion. Sweet Lord.
Yeah.
All right, let's let her keep going. Give her her due.
There is an aspect of this that is about treating the trauma and dealing with it at its source before it ends up manifesting itself in a problem. There is the work that we need to do that is about putting resources into communities around violence prevention. I've been a big advocate of that for years, which includes what we need to do around putting resources into community-based intervention that is not just requiring on the good people in the community to volunteer to do the intervention, but actually paying people to do it because it's a full-time job. It's about understanding what we need to do to, again, understand that, to your point, we have to have a holistic response to this issue and prioritize it instead of reacting to the tragedy that, sadly, they are too predictable. Let's all agree, enough of that. There are very few solutions that we haven't thought of. We need to put the resources into them.
Madam Vice President, we want to move to the topic of reproductive access.
I don't.
There was nothing there. She goes, and it's the trauma, and we got to be sensitive to this, and we got to. She's saying, yeah, but do you want to ban handguns? Come on, spit it out. But we just want to deal with the trauma, and we got to deal with this and background checks, and counselors, and
we don't know.
We got to put it seriously and think about this. And to your point, trauma.
That was their point.
It's like, good grief, this woman is a mess.
So bad, dude. So bad.
I wonder if she lost a vote with that interviewer.
I don't know.
After this interview, because that has to be the most frustrating thing in the world, to sit there for 10 minutes trying to get an answer out of a politician that just talks in circles and babbles with word salads.
I mean, the wide consensus across at least the conservative media outlets is that this was a disaster interview. So
you think?
Take it for what it is.
Except for Harry Sison and the Crassus scenes. That was
Harry
probably...
loved it. Harry loved it.
Yeah.
They're breathlessly screaming at their phones right now. The big thing that I want to take away from that in the very end of it is, and the end of this episode, is she goes down this road of basically speaking out all the individual points of their perfect gun control machine without calling it that, right?
Yeah.
So they have all the gun control that they want in these certain cities that have all the gun crime, which is a whole thing we can talk about. Then they want volunteers. Well, not volunteers anymore. Now they need to be mandated and paid because it's a full-time job. So you're building a lot of violence interrupters getting paid by the federal government to be in this area to prevent violence. Well, if in that same area, Tim, you have red flag laws on the books and you have an entire little personal security force that's getting paid to be violence interrupters, You think that's not going to lead to an increase in red flag laws?
Yeah.
You think that's not going to be a little bit of a gun control infringement, just a smidgen?
Yeah.
They're showing you the monster, guys. I mean, all the time. They do it all the time. Just saying.
Yep. And so when she gets on TV and does another interview and talks about gun control, shows us that little monster, we'll make another video. Thanks for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.